Welcome to the Unleashed podcast, where we believe that life is better when it is lived on purpose. My name is Molly Brunk, and I'm joined with lead pastor of Be Hope Church, Brad Thompson, and we are in part 2 of our 2-part series. We're already at the end of the series, where we were talking about winning with questions. What are we talking about today, Brad?
Win with questions. Today, I want to talk about the importance of asking questions so that we can grow professionally, grow in areas of weakness. And really what I'm talking about today is why mentors matter. And what kind of questions should we be asking when we're being mentored by other people? Now, I know some of you are like, I don't need to be mentored. I'm just a parent, or I just, whatever it is I do, or you don't think it's a big deal. But I'm convinced that asking questions is what will get you further in life. In fact, just let me give you the main idea. I've shared this with our staff and our team, and they've heard me say this repeatedly, and I will repeatedly say this as we continue to move on. You can only grow to the level of your learning. You can only grow to the level of your learning. If you are not a learner, you will be the lid to your own life in every capacity, whether it's parenting, dating, married life, professional life. If you are not a learner, you'll become the lid to whatever area of life you are. I don't know how to say this. You find yourself in.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Yeah, makes sense.
And I think the fumble moment is sometimes I meet organizations where it's like, we're the best. We're the best. We got it. We're good. And what I find when you get to this point where we're the best is people aren't hungry. People aren't passionate. I think the passionate people are the ones who are learners.
That makes sense.
That's just my opinion.
That makes sense, because I think when you have the mentality, we're the best, you feel like you've arrived. There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I want our audience to learn is that you don't have to know all the answers to be a high performer, right? Knowing where to get the answers is the real art form. I think sometimes we feel like in life, like what makes us great is that we have the answers. No, what makes people great is they have figured out the art form of finding the right people and asking the right questions. Quote I want to share from High Performance Habits. This is a book that I've been reading over the last year, digesting it. He said this. He said, if you don't ask for help, the right people can't come into your life.
If you don't ask for help, the right people can't come into. Oh, that's good.
And let me illustrate it this way. I'm not ashamed to admit that I am not the brightest human being in the room. Not afraid. I love it in one of our board minutes. I don't even know if I'm allowed to share this. I'm going to do it anyway. Matt, you can cut it out later. In one of our board minutes, I was just sharing with the board. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not the brightest and the smartest in the room, but I will find the right people who are, and I will ask the questions that will get us the right answers. And it's so funny. You go back and you look at the board minutes, and it literally was documented. Brad is not the brightest person in the room. My favorite minutes. I wanted to go back and correct it and be like, you can't say that. But I did say that, and those are minutes. So
that's hilarious. These are very humbling minutes that I have to have forever.
Let me just talk about it from my own life. This is what I've learned. So I'm speaking about me, and Molly, maybe you've had an experience too that you can talk about this. But I've been put in situations of leadership where I'm in over my head, right? My last church, I planted a church. I took an old church that was dying, planted a new church. I had no clue what I was doing. And 2 things that were helpful to me were, one, I was in a cohort of pastors who were leading churches 10 times the size of mine. The other thing I did was I reached out to a pastor in our local community who had launched churches, and his church was probably 15 times the size of mine at this point. And I have no shame in asking. Can I just tell you, like, this is the one gift God has given me. I have no shame in asking people for help. And what I have found is when I ask for help, I've had very, very few occasions where people say, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
On most occasions, the people who I thought wouldn't give me 5 minutes, a lunch, a quarterly meeting with them, have all been open to say, I would love to help you in that process.
Yeah. Because people are flattered, I think, when you reach out to them wanting to learn from them. Because I don't think it's a part of our culture a lot to
Say more
be
about
learners. Well, I don't think it's a part of us to learn and admit that we might not be the best at something, or say, oh, our church maybe has 200 and I want to figure out how to learn from someone who's doing it better. I think we want to promote that we're successful, and we don't want to say we have room to grow. I don't know.
Yeah, like at what point, I guess my question, this is what I can't figure it out. Like at what point do you get to the point where you're just like, we're good? I don't know how you get there.
I think you lose sight of what a win is. I think you get comfortable and you get used to it. And I think when you get used to what you're doing or used to seeing things go decently fine, I think you just become fine with stuff. Your least favorite word.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, this is fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. And you don't think that there is something else out there for you.
Mm-hmm. One of the things we've said on our staff is our level of care can't outpace our level of growth. And one of the things that I have mandated, I don't use that word often. One of the things I've mandated is that we have mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And not just, hey, get a random mentor, but one of the things we have suggested, mandated, is that you would be meeting with somebody who is leading something twice the size or 3 times the size of what we're currently leading.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there's pushback, not because we don't want mentors. I think there's pushback from multiple. Here's the tension. There's pushback because we're afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're afraid because we don't know what questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things will get you every time. I'm afraid to ask, and I don't know what questions to ask. So let me address the first one. By the way, I know this is not in our notes, but I'm having fun talking about this. Like, you're afraid to ask. Like, what's the worst that could happen? You shoot an email, send somebody a text message, you make a phone call, and you say, this is where I am. I see where you are. I admire you. You're a great leader. Would love to learn. What's the worst that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
They could say
no.
No. I've never had somebody like send somebody to my house late at night to pick me off. Or I never had to drive by.
They're just not going to respond. But
the worst thing that could happen is they ghost you. They don't even. No, you don't even get to know. They just ghost you. Like, at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, move on. It was not even about you. Chances are they just have so many people asking for help. They don't have time. And that's okay. Just move on.
Mm-hmm.
I think the second thing is we don't know what questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, in our time that we have, this will be a short one. I want to help you begin to ask questions, just questions that I ask. Mm-hmm. So if I'm meeting with a mentor, if I'm meeting with a cohort, if I'm meeting with people who I admire, who are great leaders, I will sit down and I'll start working through these questions. So I just want to share these with you. My first one is this, is what is my greatest frustration and struggle? So let me give you an example. This is a random example. If my frustration is that I feel like I can't get ahead, this is a question that I would ask. Hey, how do you get ahead on sermon prep? Mm. How do you get ahead when it comes to projects and calendaring? Like, tell me, what do you do to get ahead? Mm-hmm. Other areas of, I don't know. Do you have an area of frustration in your life?
I mean, I think maybe more content related. Like, it's like how to produce a high level of content. Like, because the more I'm in this role, the more it's like, it's not just every other week, sometimes the sermons, or every other couple weeks with a 15-minute sermon. Now there's just more being asked of me. And so it's like, how do you keep on pace with that much content?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of my it's not a frustration. It's just like, I don't know how to do that quite yet.
It's attention.
So, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, these are questions that will ultimately get you to greater questions.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what is my greatest tension? What is my greatest frustration? That's really not the question that you want to ask them.
Yeah.
But it will help you unpack, okay, I need to work on content.
Yeah.
Let me go find somebody who's really good at this and say, what is your process?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I guess one would be high school ministry. I think high school ministry is a frustration sometimes with making sure that it is something that high schoolers want to be a part of. How do we make sure, like with middle schoolers still there, how do we make sure that the night is something that high schoolers still want to be a part of?
Yeah.
So I think that's our current tension. So.
Especially with all the things that you're competing against.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sports.
Yeah. Other things going on.
School.
So, yeah.
Friends.
Mm-hmm. So I think that would be something I would ask of, like, how do you keep your high school ministry dynamic?
Yeah.
So
it's good. Question number 1, what is my greatest struggle, frustration, or tension? The second question I ask myself before going into these meetings are, where do I need to grow? Where do I need to grow? If you don't know where you need to grow, just ask somebody. I do this every year. I send to our staff, our leadership team, and some other key members. I do a 360. It's not really a 360, but I just send out these 3 questions. What do I need to start doing, stop doing, and keep doing? And I get feedback from everybody, lottie-dottie. And it is amazing the feedback that you will get. This year I did something different. I took all the feedback from people because some of it wasn't constructive.
Some of it just mean.
Some of it was just mean. And in those moments, I always go to those really mean comments.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a team of 3 people together who I trust. And I would go through all the comments and say, is this true? Is this not true? Should this be my main focus? Mm-hmm. And it was fun. I met with a group of 3-4 people. We had lunch. And we walked away from that meeting with 3 things that I needed to work on. And it was extremely helpful. But it helped me.
I did not know that you did that. That's funny.
But it also helped me get rid of the voices on those pages that I didn't need to listen to.
Yeah.
So.
Ugh, that's such a hard experience.
It is, but we can become blind to the areas that we need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the truth. And so that's the question, where do I need to grow? And so ask somebody that simple question. What should I stop doing, start doing, keep doing? There are other things you can ask. But where do I need to grow is my second question. The question I will always ask people is, hey, tell me why that's working for you. So you're working on content, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want to learn about content. You meet with somebody. You seem like you're really good at creating content. Why does that work for you? Show me how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Why does this matter to you? Like, you come in with that, they will give you tons of information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tons of information. Question number 4 that I like to ask people is, what are you learning? What are you listening to? What podcasts are you consuming other than the Unleashed podcast? What books are you reading? What leaders are you learning from? Who mentors you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a really good question, by the way, because I think you'll find that your mentors are being mentored by people that you admire even more than your current mentor.
Yeah.
So who are you learning from? And here's the goal. So those are simple questions. What's my greatest struggle? Where do I need to grow? Tell me why this works for you. What are you learning? Who are you learning from? And then the last thing, my big takeaway is always this. I never want to leave a conversation without answering this question. What is the one thing that will change everything? What is the one thing that will change everything? I think sometimes when we leave from conversations with mentors, you'll have pages and pages and pages of notes, and then they just sit somewhere.
Mm.
But the beauty of mentors and the beauty of asking questions is it will lead you to what's the one thing that will change everything.
Mm.
And I have found that to be extremely helpful. And how do I say this? I've asked questions at the right time from the right people, and it has been pivotal in the organizations that I've led.
Mm. That's good. Do you think people get stuck on figuring out who
I think they do.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about that for a minute. These are the questions I would ask you. In your profession, in the areas that you struggle, or maybe, again, if you admire somebody who's really good at dating relationships,
Mm-hmm.
or you admire somebody who's great at teaching, or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
who do you admire? Like, man, we have so much social content. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many people you admire.
Yeah.
Right? I just learned this week that there's a famous young lady who lives in our area, Mason. Her name is Bex. Have you heard of this girl? Anyway, she's like a middle schooler.
I was like, what does she do?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But I learned this week. But my point being, like, so I learned this from my family in Arizona. Like, they follow this girl who lives in Mason. I forget what it's called. Something Bex. Anyway. But it's like, just really good content, apparently. There are people that you follow all the time that you admire.
Yeah.
Call them. DM them. Is that what you do?
You can DM them. Yeah.
DM them. We had somebody on staff, one of our musicians. We were going through this, and I said, "Who do you admire?" And he named a guy from a church out west, Red Rocks Church. And I said, DM him. Mm-hmm. And he did. And he got back to him.
Yeah.
And he's now mentoring him.
Yeah.
Who do you admire?
Yeah.
What other struggles do you think people face when it comes to?
I think identifying the person, I think often overwhelms people of figuring out who in their field. I think for me, I would like trying to specifically find a female youth pastor at a church of 5,000 plus. I was like, I don't really know female youth pastors, but we have different connections that can get me to where we need to go. And then, but I guess I didn't think of who I admire. Like, I didn't think of like that big, because I just like assumed that that would never happen. So I think I just need to start putting some of those things out there, because we have a connection to Crossroads, which is a large church, and we have the guy who's in charge of a lot of stuff, and so he could easily get me connections to people, female youth pastors or female pastors and stuff. So I think I got too specific of like, oh, I need to find a female youth pastor who has a church of 10,000 people. Like, and just like, where do I find that? So, I think just broadening my scope, I think, would be helpful.
But I also think that when you're asking of those people, like, they're connected to people. So if they can't help you, a lot of times what I found is they can point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
I was thinking a few years ago, before I got to Be Hope, I was looking for a coach, and I reached out to this one gentleman, and he said, I would love to help you in this season of my life. I can't. I'm moving. I'm changing positions. But he said, there's a couple that I would love to connect you with, and they do coaching. And he connected me to them. And that was helpful for me.
Yeah.
And so they may not know, but they're connected to people who do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great. Do you have anything else that you want to add before we dive into Hope or Nopes?
No, I think just the key points of remember that you are the own lid to your life, right? That you can only grow to the level of your learning. And if you don't ask for help, the right people can't enter your life.
That's good. That's good. Well, Hope or Nope is our segment where we ask if there's hope or nope for these things happening in the world, and just see if Brad thinks that. But the first one that we have is Christmas decorations. Are you a big Christmas decoration guy?
I am. Yes.
Oh, you like go all out?
Yes.
Wow.
I took my kids out this year. We got a new tree because our other one was 20 years old. We went and got Bill's Donuts.
I love that.
And then we went to Walmart. We got classy decorations at Walmart.
Did you do you decorate the outside of your house too? Like, do you do lights and stuff?
No.
Just interior decorations. Okay.
I had 3 trees in my house right now.
That's fair.
4 counting Miles' tree.
He has his own tree?
Does.
I love that about him. I don't know if we're going to decorate for Christmas this year. Can I hire Miles and Carter to come decorate?
I will come put a tree in your house.
Okay, next one.
Hope for Christmas decks.
Okay, hope for Christmas decks. Not to be confused with Bex, who lives in Mason somewhere. Okay, the next one is turkey and ham. We were debating this, turkey versus ham. So I already kind of know your answer, but I had this one on there before we started debating.
Ham all day.
Ham is so much better than turkey. If you like turkey, what's wrong with you?
Again, lots and lots of cranberry sauce to make that taste good.
Dry. All right. So the last one is traveling for holidays or staying home.
Oh, I had a great experience traveling for the holidays. It was good, but
Airports weren't crazy?
kind of.
Okay.
I don't know. We left at 5 a.m. on the day before Thanksgiving. So, nobody was up. Even the TSA wasn't there yet. When we got 3:30, they weren't even open yet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's good, but I really love being home.
That's fair.
What
That's
about
fair.
you?
I think I like both. I like sometimes and sometimes everyone coming to us. I think it's just fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
Hope for the holidays.
Hope for the holidays. Happy holidays, everyone.
Christmas to be
Merry
specific.
Christmas. But we are so grateful that you took time out of your day to listen to this episode. Make sure you subscribe and share with everyone in your sphere of influence. And we will see you back here on the next episode. Thanks so much.